right, joining me now to get into some early best bets for Week 10's college football action. We are absolutely flying, and to recap a very interesting weekend in the sport is our guy, Brad Powers. Brad, how you making out?
Hey, doing well. Finally off a winning weekend when it comes to best bets. So looking forward to week 10 here. Hopefully we can get a winning streak going.
Let's go, moving in the right direction. Okay, so we're gonna get into the Brian Kelly news here, obviously, but before we get into that, let's start like we always do on your Monday appearance. What are your biggest takeaways out of the weekend?
Yeah, I got three quick ones here. I'll start with Indiana. Not only number two in the polls, but number two in my power ratings. A legit number two team. Number one in yards per game margin, number one in scoring margin. I would say if we're looking at stocks, treating teams like stocks, they would be the second most trustworthy commodity right now behind the defending champs, Ohio State. And keep in mind, we are talking about Indiana, historically, maybe the worst Power Four program in the country the last 50 years. And now they're right there in year two with Signetti. Another team I want to talk about is Alabama. Very similar to what I mentioned last week. Yes, they've won five straight. They're actually seven straight since the opener, but fifth straight win in conference play. But it was the fifth straight game where the scoreboard was better than the box score. I mean, if you get into like some of the particulars, like adjusted box scores, post game win expectancy, Alabama should only have maybe five wins, not seven wins. So yeah, I'm not totally sold on Alabama and my preseason choice to win it all, even though they're right there at the top of the polls. The most fortunate team, though, is Virginia. And this is a team that I'm not afraid to fade here down the stretch. Third win in overtime this season. They stopped North Carolina at the goal line. This is a fraudulent team that somehow only has one loss at this point. I'm expecting at least two more losses this season for Virginia.
Okay, let's get into the big news of the week. It dropped on Sunday night. Brian Kelly out at LSU. He got off to a really weird start there when he had that fake Southern accent when he was addressing the crowd at a basketball game, and this viral thing of him dancing with some recruits. It's just very, very unusual. So LSU fans get their wish after another LSU loss. So first of all, what is your reaction? You think is justified?
Well, I mean, I'm still surprised that schools are willing to pony up 50 plus million for a buyout. We're only in year four of a 10-year contract, but the way it was going, and if you watched the second half against A&M, I mean, if you just read the scoreboard, you thought they got crushed the whole game. No, they were actually LSU was winning at halftime, but there was give up, there was quit from the team in the second half. And let's be honest, Brian Kelly was never a great fit down there, so didn't perform well in the big games like he did at Notre Dame. They're very similar to that. And the reality is, personality wise, probably easier to get rid of somebody like him when he's not a very likable character. I will say this moving forward for LSU, it is the best job right now available in the market. It's a top five job nationally, great recruiting hotbed, no other major in state schools to compete with. Three previous coaches prior to Kelly all won a national title. We're talking about Les Miles and Ed Orgeron winning titles there. So it's the number one job in the market right now.
Okay, so that said, who would be a good slash realistic replacement for him to start next season?
Well, when it's the number one job in the market, I think you stop. You start at the top of the board. Lane Kiffin, obviously, it should be getting a phone call to say the least. Eli Drinkwitz, another SEC coach known for offense. You got to give him a call. There's always those way up there. Hey, who can you get? Who's a little bit more realistic? Frank Key, the Georgia Tech coach, I think would be a really good, solid hire. Not going to move the needle like Elaine Kiffin, but I think he'd be a great fit coach down there. John Summerall, you don't have to go too far for him. He's the Tulane head coach, has assistant coaching experience in the SEC. And then I'm going to throw a name out there from the NFL ranks, Joe Brady, who LSU fans are
Ooh,
very familiar with
oh
because he
yeah.
was the OC when they won the national championship, the best offense in the history of college football in 2019. He's the Bills OC right now. If he's down the list, but I don't think it gets past him.
You think you'll see Brian Kelly resurface soon?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm haven't read the fine print, but it seems like he's going to get his 53 million unless he takes another job.
Oh,
If I'm him at his advanced age and he doesn't want to recruit, I'd take the 53 million from LSU and go sit on the beach like he was doing during recruiting weekends as it was. We're going to hear a lot of stories coming out of how bad it truly was down there in Baton Rouge the last 3 years.
Yeah, so I'm getting in a clip of him surface, him getting in, I think it was a wide receiver's face telling him he's completely uncoachable and swearing at the kid. And yeah, pretty ugly luck there for Brian Kelly. Okay, let's check in on the Heisman Trophy. Odds are pretty tight. We have three separate players inside a plus 400 odds: Mendoza, Simpson, and Sang. Out of those three, who has the best path to winning the award?
Well, you're gonna get the truth out of me as far as when I see three players inside 4-1, that says no discounts. You're paying premiums, so I don't think that you're getting a great bet here. If I had to bet one, it would be Julian saying just because I trust Ohio State of those three players on those teams to win out, and it's just as much of a team award as anything the Heisman. So Julian Sain would be the bet I'd make, followed by Ty Simpson.
Okay, if you needed to take a swing on somebody else and pull the trigger on a player outside of those three, who would you be laying a bet on?
Yeah, I'd be the guy with the fifth, highest odds as far as, or fifth shortest odds, however you want to say it. Diego Pavia plus 850. If you want to diversify the portfolio this week, meaning you like Vanderbilt to go into Austin and beat Texas, and they're only a 2.5 point underdog, I think you need to, if you don't have one already, you need to have a Pavia Heisman ticket because his odds probably get cut in half if he goes in there and has a big performance and leads Vanderbilt to a win. Vandy would likely, starting to project forward, going to win their next two SEC games after this. They'd be 10-1 heading to Tennessee. And at that point, Pavia could even be the Heisman favorite at that point. So if you like Vandy, I'm not a big Vandy supporter this week, but you certainly have to have a Pavia ticket in your portfolio.
Okay, let's talk a market that we haven't really discussed this season: conference championships. Lots of plus odds still available on good teams. Does anything stand out to you in the conference championship market?
Yeah, you're not gonna like me and neither are the the viewers. I'm not gonna go with a team with a plus sign next to their name. I'm gonna go with a team with a minus next to their name. Ohio State minus
Yeah.
150 to win the Big Ten. Because there's a lot every single week I'd come on here. Oh, there's great odds on this team, and then they go out and lose. There's so much parity involved in college football. You just got to time it right. What I am pretty sure of and most confident in is we're going to see Ohio State play Indiana in the Big Ten championship game. It's almost a sure thing at this point. And then that's very easy to me for me to project. And I think Ohio State will be more than a 3 point favorite in that game. And if you do the money line conversion, that equates to more than a minus 150 on Ohio State. So I like the Buckeyes minus 150 to win the Big Ten. I'm going to be boring. And I know a lot of people want to win, bet a little to win a lot. I'm not like that.
Hell yeah, a winner. Sometimes you do find value with
Yeah, I do
minus
like
money
winning.
odds. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so a market that we hit on often on your appearances here on the program: odds to make the playoff. I'm surprised to see Vanderbilt still has plus odds to make the playoff, plus 125 over at FanDuel, 7-1 on the season. Their only loss is to Alabama. They have a handful of ranked wins, a couple big games coming up, of course. Is that a good bet? Vanderbilt plus 125 to make the playoff.
I don't love it just because they're going to be an underdog at Texas, obviously, this week, and they're going to likely be an underdog at Tennessee. Vanderbilt's not making it at 9-3. And since they don't have that blue blood status, and keep in mind, this is an invitation more than anything, the college football playoff, it's voted upon among committee members. They don't have that brand name that says, yep, if they're 10-2, they're definitely in. So that's why I don't think it's a great bet. But however, similar to the Pavia Heisman ticket, if you like Vanderbilt this week, if that's one of your favorite bets of the week, and you think Vanderbilt's going to win, then I mean, it ain't going to be plus 125 next week if they beat Texas. There's going to be a minus number next to their name when it comes to making the playoffs. So again, diversify the portfolio.
Okay, yeah, Vandy gonna need to pick up an outright win as a dog here with their last handful of games. Okay, let's get into a couple of best bets. I'm guessing Vandy will not be on that list for Brad
Yeah.
here this week. Brad has two to give out. A couple double-digit dogs here. Purdue plus 21.5 taking on Michigan, and you like Purdue to keep this game from at least getting two out of hand.
Yeah, so Purdue plus 21.5 for me, obviously playing a number right around a relative key number of 21, taking that extra hook there. But it's more than that. Let's talk about their opponent, Michigan. Michigan is not the team that I like to laying a lot of points with. They're not looking to throw the ball up and down the field. They didn't last week. They ran it with both running backs. And oh, yeah, by the way, we cashed a best bet on this program on Monday last week, taking plus 14.5 with Michigan State. Got a nice late touchdown there to help us. But Michigan State was the right side if you followed that game. Purdue also in the marketplace last week took about as much money as any team on the board last week. Went from +3 against Rutgers to -3. They lost by 3, but it's not like they've given up and waved the white flag on the season. I just think this is too much delay for a plotting Michigan offense.
Okay, next up we have Virginia Tech. They're a plus 10.5 point dog taking on Louisville. And once again, you like the underdog here.
I do like Virginia Tech. So similar to the Purdue best bet, I like to look at this time of year when numbers are tighter, who's getting a lot of play in the market. And Virginia Tech got bet from -2, 2.5 against Cal to -6, 6.5. Ended up winning in double overtime, but they were the right side in that game. Pummeled Cal at the line of scrimmage, outrushing them by 300 yards in the game. So this is a Virginia Tech team, has an interim coach. Quite evident they're actually playing better under the interim than they did the previous head coach, and they're taking on a Louisville team. Jeff Brom had the big win against Miami a couple weeks ago, but he's better in the underdog role than he is the favorite role. Hell, they're sitting there as a 25-point favorite last week, only beating Boston College late in the fourth quarter by 7. They ended up winning by 14. I just don't want to be laying more than 10 on the road with the Louisville team now playing with some pressure because they got to win out to make the ACC championship game.
Okay, there you have it. Great spot from Brad today. Brad, we will leave it at that. Thank you as always for joining. And of course, we will catch you again on Thursday, get into some more best bets and breakdowns for the biggest games of the week. Best of luck with your handicap, and we'll catch you Thursday.
Thanks for having me, Joe.